Success Series. I got to tell you, this morning inside of my household, everybody is alive and kicking. This is one day before Thanksgiving, so we have the family getting ready to go out of town to another state. And I'm trying to come to you live this morning and do a little bit of live streaming. So you have to forgive me if you hear a lot of banter in the background between the cats and the children and all the hustle and bustle of getting out of town. It's going to be a live one today, so thanks for bearing with us with all the additional noise and perhaps sometimes distraction. If you want to join me and have a more personalized experience here, I am always looking forward to having my guests chat with me. I mean, you can either chat with me directly through Facebook or you can take a look at the link on my screen. I'm still getting used to this. On my screen right below, you can join me at app.blive.tv, etc., etc., etc. You see the runner, so you know what it is. So for all of y'all who know me or don't know me, I am Jay Turner, success coach with EduJay LLC, where I am on a mission to provide personal and professional development to all who are interested and really help others unleash their inner awesome through coaching, workshops, speaking engagements, you name it. Ultimately, we're all on a mission to be our best selves or to be our best organization. So that's what I'm all about. Today, I want to take a moment and think about this whole idea of happiness. As I mentioned a moment ago, we are the day before Thanksgiving, and I woke up this morning with this thought on my mind. It's all about, at this time of the year, when we're thinking about the things that we're thankful for, we oftentimes have this parallel thought of happiness. Because typically, when we're thankful for something, there's this idea that there's some happiness attached to it. And what I want to share with you today is this reading that I did a while back. It was from a book by a gentleman named John Izzo, and it was called The Five Thieves of Happiness. And those concepts were on my mind really heavily when I woke up this morning and realizing that tomorrow is Thanksgiving. And it made me think about, if everyone is on this mission of being happy, because we're all trying to get our happy, right? Why is it that some of us just kind of have this deep-seated itch or urge, and we just can't quite get that happiness that we are pursuing? And so I just wanted to share with you, my thoughts on John Izzo's Five Thieves of Happiness. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. It is the five thieves of happiness and how we can combat them. We want to say, stop, thief, stop stealing my happiness, bring me my contentment, and let's just get on with life and make this life as amazing as possible. Because the reality is, today is beautiful, but tomorrow is never promised. So with that said, let's hop in and talk a little bit about the five things of happiness. The very first one being this whole idea of control. Control robs us of happiness, right? And when I say happiness, I really want to back up and disambiguate and say, we're on this journey for happiness, but the founding premise of this book, and one aspect that I firmly believe in, is that everything that we need to be happy is already inside of us, right? We spend so much of our time chasing happiness through a variety of measures that we oftentimes forget that everything that we need to be content, to have true contentment, is already inside of us. And so, if the idea that contentment is already on the inside, why do we spend so much time, energy, and wasted effort chasing happiness, which is on the outside? So the first thief of happiness is control. Control is recognizing that, there are factors that are beyond us, right? When we think about our contentment, the best thing that we can do is accept the things that we cannot change. It sounds almost like a page taken from the Serenity Prayer, right? Lord, grant me the serenity to change the things that I can and accept the things that I cannot. And that's all about control. We can't control the weather. If you were looking forward to going outside and having this magnificent hike, and your entire happiness that day was going to be based on you getting out there in the woods, going on your hike, in sunny weather, but then it started raining, I mean, that just shot your happiness for the day, right? But you can't control the weather. I mean, that's a force of nature. I mean, you couldn't control that. And it's the same way in life. we oftentimes have factors that we cannot control. So it's up to us to be able to recognize that we need to only focus on the things that we can control. I mean, what are those elements that are within our sphere of influence that we have a direct level of control over? That's all that we can handle. I think a lot about like my professional life, right? My day job career. And I think about like the times where I've been working someplace and, I was happy there, just genuinely happy. I'm probably working for a place and then something changed, right? Somebody came in and moved my damn cheese. It's like that book, Who Moved My Cheese? Somebody came in and moved the cheese. And then, the place went from being externally something that I attached to and it made me happy, and I wasn't necessarily fully on board with the change. And then I was sour grapes, and my happiness was affected because because I had tied so much of my meaning and worth into the organization that I was working with. And when this change happened, I mean, I wasn't happy anymore. And, in that moment, I had to realize that that change was external to me. I had no input on the change. And even if I did, me as one person inside of a sea of many people, it's highly unlikely that my feelings were going to really matter that much where the change wouldn't have gone into effect. So the only thing that I could have controlled in that situation was my reaction to the change and not the change itself. So we have to give up this idea that we control everything, that we are, like the gods of our own destiny. I mean, we do have a significant degree of influence in our lives, but there will be some boulders along the way that we just can't push. That boulder was put on that path, and we can't move it ourselves. Give up control and roll with the punches. The second idea here inside of Izzo's work is this notion of conceit, right? And that is thinking that the world revolves around us. Well, here's a news flash for you. I mean, as much as I like me, the world don't revolve around me. As much as you might like yourself, the world does not revolve around you. Yeah, granted, we feel good when maybe the attention is on us, or when we do have that control that we like, and we can influence everything, but we're not the center of the universe. And the second that we accept that it's not all about me, it's not all about me being happy, it's not all about me having all the pleasure that I want, but rather we divert our attention and start focusing outward. How can we help others? That is where we start getting closer toward, reconnecting with our internal contentment. What are those valuable connections that I can make with others so that the universe is no longer revolving around me? And it makes a lot of sense. If the universe is constantly revolving around you, you are constantly setting yourself up for disappointment, because it's just unrealistic to think that you can control every variable. It goes back to control, and that everyone and everything is in existence simply to make you happy, to bring you pleasure, to give you more money. It doesn't work that way. So we need to let go of our conceit, let go of the ego, and lean into the idea that we are just one voice in a chorus of many, and let's help each other magnify each other to sing a brighter song. The third item here inside of Izzo's work is this whole sense of coveting. I can't talk this morning. Remember, I need my coffee to get my brain warmed up, and my slow Southern tongue oftentimes has a difficulty getting those big words out, those multi-syllable words out early in the morning. So coveting, coveting is a thief of happiness, big time. I still don't understand why I can't say this word today, but this is all about the idea of wanting, desiring very deeply something that is not ours, and something that maybe was not meant for us to have. When we're constantly looking at, what does my neighbor have, like what do the Joneses have, and you're trying to keep up with that, and we find ourselves coveting that new car that they bought, or the fact that they were able to move out of their house and upgrade to a bigger one. It triggers this want in us to like keep chasing the things that they are chasing and to have what they are having, when really, if you take a look at your life and you give an inventory of all the things that are around you, you usually have more contentment contained within that bubble than you realize. Did you wake up this morning? Right? I mean, if you're live and you're listening to this webcast this morning, you're here, right? I mean, you should be content with being here today. If you're streaming this through your phone or your computer, you are blessed and you are fortunate to have that device that's enabling you to take a listen at what we're talking about this morning. When you walk out of that door and you get in your car and you're about to drive an hour in some really crappy traffic, you are blessed and fortunate that you have that job so that you can pay for that cell phone so that you can listen to a rando like me talk about this whole idea of like the thieves of our happiness, right? So instead of coveting what other people have, let's be thankful for the blessings that are already in front of us. And cheers to Thanksgiving being tomorrow, because that's just a really good time to, take it all in and express thanks for the many things that we've been given. Fourth, and somewhat related to this idea of coveting, is consumption. This is something that a lot of us struggle with. I mean, I struggle with it myself, and that is constantly looking to the outside and looking for stuff to make me happier, right? Because I'm chasing that rush of happiness, and usually stuff can be a nice band-aid for it, or it can be a nice aphrodisiac, if you will. I mean, just get you up and going and all hot and bothered because you got something new for a few minutes. But these things are ephemeral. When we get stuff, typically the joy, to borrow from Marie Kondo, the joy can be temporary. You buy yourself that new car. I want a new car. I mean, badly. I have a 2012 Kia Sorento. It's paid off, but Corvette has like the new Stingray, and it is a beautiful, beautiful, sexy beast of a machine. And I want that, right? I want that in my life. Um, and it will bring me some happiness. It might bring me happiness for a year or 2 years, but I'm not going to be very happy when I have to have like a huge car note again, right? So it's all about the balance. So I'll tell you a little story. When I was in my early 20s, I came into an unexpected windfall, and there was some financial benefit there. And, I remember when this windfall happened, I was constantly just like out. Back then we used to call it balling out of control. Like, I was balling out of control, y'all. I mean, had a little bit of loot, had some money, was spending it, just like flashy, right? I mean, buying like fur coats, and I live in Georgia. Like, who needs a fur coat and you live in Georgia? Like, when it's the coldest that it gets is like 32 degrees. When we get 2 inches of snow, it shuts down the city. Who needs a fur coat? Well, I got a fur coat. You know why? Because I was in the Versace store and I thought at that moment that fur coat was going to make me feel real good about myself. And guess what? It did. When I put that coat on for that few minutes in the store, and it was the summer when I bought this coat. I mean, who tries on a fur coat in the summer? This guy. I put on that coat, felt real good, and I was like, you know what, man, this is gonna up my swag. I'm gonna feel great. Buy the coat, and it did up my swag for a minute. But you know what? I can tell you that I've worn that coat fewer than 10 times. I've owned that thing at this point now for maybe 15 or 16 years. Okay. And I still wrestle with this. And this is, I'm 40 years old now. I'm 40, and I still find myself sometimes getting distracted by the bright and the shiny. I love video games. Huge gamer, PC gamer, because gaming on a PC tends to be significantly cheaper than a console. Yeah, you buy the bright, flashy computer up front, but the games tend to be cheaper over time. So I still have this habit. It's kind of rooted in me from being a kid, where I am constantly buying new video games because the games are cheap. I mean, I can get 10 video games for $10. And so I end up just like buying this stuff because in the moment, it's like, yes, 12-year-old me is thinking, I get more video games. But 40-year-old me, like a week after I buy this stuff, realizes that I'm a grown man. I'm busy. When am I ever going to have time to play this stuff? But in the moment, that consumption drive, put me forward to making a purchase that I didn't necessarily need. And so then I find myself lamenting my purchase, and that's just robbing me of my happiness, when I simply could have been content to play the video games I had already owned, right? So you see how this whole idea of like coveting and consumption goes together. Always wanting what you can't have or what someone else has, And then, we buy stuff to fill a hole in our soul when, maybe we don't have a hole. We just need to lean into the contentment that's already in us. And then finally, Izzo writes that the fifth thief of happiness is comfort. Comfort is kind of tricky because we oftentimes think about contentment of just being, I'm not too high, I'm not too low, things feel just right. And that can be a tricky spot to be in because sometimes we find ourselves thinking, well, I'm not happy, but I'm not miserable either. So like this must be contentment. I thought, yeah, I'm kind of meh, I mean, it doesn't hurt. It don't feel great. It's okay. And that's contentment. Well, it's not, I mean, if you're finding yourself where when you're feeling that neutral balance and that neutral balance leans more so toward, I could have just a little bit more, you haven't quite found your contentment yet. Being content is being able to sit back and objectively assess, where you are emotionally, maybe spiritually, physically, financially, and looking at, do I have any deficits that I need to fill, and like what's out there. But and then also, if you do have those, it's finding small, practical, technical ways to like fill those gaps without going overboard, so that you can ride this wave of content. And so when I look around myself this morning, hey, I see Andy popping up here. Good morning. I'm gonna put your little message up here on the screen. Hey, look, Andy says, good morning, everybody. This is my brother-in-law. He's one of the coolest dudes out there. Andy, thanks for joining in. And not sure if you're going to be up for Thanksgiving this year. Unfortunately, I'm going to be back here in Atlanta watching the Falcons probably get whipped by the Saints. But, happy Thanksgiving early to you, brother, and much love. And so, and this right here is like just a prime example of contentment. I mean, I am surrounded by a beautiful family. I have a wife that I love. I have 4 children that bring a lot of meaning to my life. I have an extended family that's just amazing. And when I look at all those things, when I walk out the door, and even on days when it's raining outside like it is today, I can take a look in the mirror and say, you know what? This, my friends, this is contentment. So here is to yet another day before the sun comes up. Pardon all the noise we have in the background, from meowing cats to slamming doors to, fussy children. We made it through. Here's to your success. Here's to being even more awesome than you were the day before. And I just want to let you know about a few things that I have coming up here with EduJay. You can see it going across the crawler at the bottom. As always, I have lots of free personal and professional development resources that are out there on my website at edujay.com. Also want to remind everyone and invite you, if you have not been invited yet, that we're doing this awesome event called Booze and Banter on December 16th from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern. And look, if you don't drink booze, that's okay. You can always come with a late night cup of coffee or just bring some water, whatever your adult beverage might be. But I'm inviting you to participate in this virtual happy hour where you get to connect with people who are in my network, whether they're friends, families, members, colleagues, random folks that I met online through different groups that I belong in. This is a really cool way, just on webcam, having some some random one-on-one networking conversations where you can just get to know other people in my network. So it's a combination of Spin the Bottle meets 21 questions meets 6 degrees of separation. Should be a lot of fun. It is absolutely free. And then, finally, I'm blanking this morning. I still haven't had enough coffee. Oh my goodness. I am also accepting new coaching clients and speaking engagements for 2020. My calendar does tend to fill up pretty quickly. So if you're looking for some coaching, whether it's for career development, if you are looking to make that next step in your career, if you're already a seasoned manager or an executive and you're looking to step your game up a little bit, I help there. Also, if you are an organization and you need a dynamic speaker for your staff development day or to facilitate a workshop on a variety of topics, you can always consider bringing me in because, hey, I'm pretty good at what I do. And as my dad says, that ain't bragging. if it's true. I have another comment here from Andy. I'm going to pop this on the screen. He has a really good insight, and I'm seeing that he's read that people tend to have a happiness set point. I like this. Over time, no matter what happens, each individual trends back to whatever their innate set of happiness is. I mean, I can actually, I can see that. I can see that. I mean, we tend to, but behavior is adjustable. And as my CEO once said, is that, people are who they are. And, you can take some sandpaper to them and you can kind of scrub at the edges. But I mean, ultimately, people are who they are, at this point in time, and they tend to not change permanently. And so to Andy's point, and kind of mirroring this example from my CEO, yeah, I do believe that, folks can get, a surge of happiness, right? You get a little rush of happiness, and it can take you forward past your happiness set point. But eventually, like just like anything that you introduce into your system, the dope wears off, right? I mean, yeah, you might take a little something, makes you feel good for a few minutes or a few days, and then eventually, the drug wears off, the aphrodisiac wears off, and you're kind of back to your neutral, and that is wherever you started with your happiness set point. And recognizing too that set point, everyone's set point might be different, so we're all starting somewhere differently along the continuum. My sense of happiness might be, a little bit lower initially than say like Andy's, but we do both trend back over time when things are introduced into our lives. So I can definitely see that. And thanks for that point, Andy, and contributing to the discussion. Well, it has been a great 20 minutes this morning, and I just hope that you all have a magnificent day. Go out there and unleash your inner awesome. I'm Jay Turner, and till the next time, be great.